Hey beautiful people, my name is Vance. Welcome back again to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to make this pleated shorts with side zip, and I'm going to be showing you the easiest way to make it. So let's get right into the tutorial. So for this project, I'll be using 2 yards of fabric, although I didn't exhaust the 2 yards. If you're on a plus size, you can actually use more than 2 yards. So I'm going ahead to mark out my starting line as I always do. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my crouch line. So I have minus 1.5 inch from my crouch measurement. My crouch line is actually 9.5, which I just marked there, but I'll be adding 1.5 inch because this short is actually a free short, making it 11. So the length of my short, I'll be making use of 18 inches. I actually do not want it to be so long. I like the length, so 18 inches is perfect for me. I'll go ahead and mark out my crouch line again, my short line, and then I'll mark it all through the point or all through the fabric, just as you've seen me do. So when I'm done with this, I'm going to use my French curve or my ruler to mark out this line, to straighten it. So when I'm done straightening it, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate my hip and how many inches I'm going to use for my allowance. So I'll be making use of 10 inches for my allowance. I'm first going to mark out my hip divided by 4, that's 9.5 plus 1 inch for ease. Then for my pleats, I'm going to add 10 inches. You can actually go ahead and add more than 10 inches, is based on what you want. If you want the pleats to be bigger, so I'll repeat the same thing on my waist line. That's I marked my hip plus the 10 inches. I'll go ahead and connect these points together with my ruler. So I'm going to connect it just the way you see me doing. So usually for me to get my crouch extension, what I'll do is I'll divide my hip by 4, which is 9.5. My hip is 38, which is 9.5 plus 1 inch for ease. I will add whatever I got, which is 10.5. I'm going to divide it by 4. So whatever I got, I will mark it out. I got 2.6. I marked it out, and then I'll use my French curve to give it a slight curve, just as shown. Sorry, I'm trying to place my French curve properly. So I've ruled it out. I'll go to my waistline. My waistline is 29.5. That's 7.3. So I'll mark it out, and then I'll add extra 10 inches for my pleat. So these are 10 inches I just marked out now. I'll connect it down to my crouch line or my hip line, anyone, but I'll connect it as shown. When I'm done with this part, all I will need to do is at the tip of my short, that's the full length of my short, I'll go in by 1 inch, just as shown. I'll connect it from the hip line down to my short length, just the way you're seeing me do. So when I'm done with this, at my crotch line, I'll just mark out the lines, like I'll rule out the lines straight down. There's no need for actually taking measurements there, since the short is a free one. So after I finish connecting it, I'll indicate front, and then I'll go ahead and cut it, and then I'll show you how it looks like when I'm done cutting. So this was when I was done cutting. I'll go ahead and also trim out these other parts that I'm doing right now to make it even. So when I'm done trimming this part, I'll go ahead and introduce my back. So for the back, as we always do, if you're very conversant with my tutorial, you will know that we've done this a lot aside the pleated shirt thing. So this is my fabric. I have placed my front block on the fabric. So I'll, from that point, that's my center front, I'll come in by 2 inches. I'll go up by 1.5. So when I'm done with this, that 2 inches, I'll repeat it by this side of my shorts. I'll mark out my 2 inches. I'll go ahead and roll out the lines like this, and I'll connect this point, that 1.5, to the 2 inches I came out by. So I'll use my ruler and then I'll connect the points. So when I'm done connecting the points, I'll go ahead and take my crotch extension. Whatever I use for my crotch extension, I actually use 2.6. I'll repeat the same 2.6 at my back crotch, just like this. And then I'll go ahead and trace out my crotch line, just like this. And I'm going to lift up the front to connect it to the 1.5 inch I came up by. I'll use my French cuff to do that. So when I'm done with this, I'll go ahead and add my allowances for the back. So I'm going to be using 2 inches here for my allowance, and then I'll be using 1 inch or 1.5 for it. I actually used 1.5, so I'll connect the 3 points together. So when I'm done with this part, I'll just trace out the shorts. I'll do the same thing for the other parts. I'll just add my allowance just as shown, and then I'll connect it together. I actually use 1.5 there, so I'll trace it out, or rather I'll rule it out. And then I'm going to extend my lines. I'll go ahead and cut, and then I'll show you how it looks like when I'm done cutting. Guys, at this point, if you found value, please do well to like, subscribe to my channel. If you're new in my channel, please do well to subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section if you're confused, and I'll be there to reply you. So when I'm done with this, I'm going to remove the front, and then I'm going to indicate back. When I'm done with this part, I'll head off to sewing the center front of the shirt, just like this. I'll go to my sewing machine and sew it by 1/2 inch. I'll do the same thing for the back. I'll also sew the center and back by 1/2 inch. So this was when I was done sewing. The next thing I'm going to do is, I've sewn it and then I've also ironed it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the point where I'm going to pleat. So for the point I'm going to pleat, I actually use my nipple to nipple, which is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Then for the part that I'm going to fold inside, that's the part that is going to give me my pleat, I'm going to be using 2.5. So you can see me marking out the 2.5. Yeah, I actually got the 2.5. And then I'm going to pick up the other side like this, because it's a kissing pleat, and I also use 2.5 for that side too. So for me to check to know if it's actually 2.5, I'm going to use my tape to check it. So it's 2.5 already. I'm going to use my pin to hold it down. So before I hold it down, remember that my waist is 29.5 divided by 4, which gave me 7.3. So I checked it if that part is enough for the half of my waist. I don't know if you get, like, I don't know how to explain this, but I had to use my tape to check if after I finish using the 2.5, if it's going to be enough for me, like, to stitch it by the other side. So I'll head off to this other part of my back shorts. I'm going to still use my nipple to nipple, which is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So that's where I'm going to pick that 4, and then I'm going to pleat it. Remember I said earlier that the pleat I'm going to use with 2.5. So I'm going to use my tape to check if it's up to 2.5. So at this point, it was actually up to 2.5. I'll do the same thing for the other side. So I'm going to hold it down with a pin so it's not going to move. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. I'll pick it. I'll check if it's up to 2.5. I have to arrange it very well so I will have an even pleat. The essence of this is to have an even pleat, rather. So it's up to 2.5. So I'm checking if it corresponds with my waist. When you're done with this pleat, you have to check if both sides correspond with your waist, so that you won't have to start losing all over again and start remeasuring or start pleating. I don't know if you understand. So I'm going to pin it down. I will do the same thing for the front part of my block. So I'm measuring it again. So it's up to my waist plus allowance. That's my stitching allowance. It's up to it. So I'll bring my front block now. I'll do the same thing. My nipple to nipple again is 8. I'm repeating this thing so that you won't have to make mistake. So it's 8. 8 divided by 2, 4. So that 4 is where I'm picking it. That's where I'm going to start my pleat from. I'm going to check if my pleat is up to 2.5. If it's not up to 2.5, I will readjust it just to make sure that my pleat gets to 2.5. This is where the trick is. So if I'm satisfied, I'm going to go ahead and pin it down. So right now, I think my pleat is up to 2.5. So this is me arranging it properly so I won't have to make mistake. It's not like you now use 2 inches in the other part, you now use 2.5. It will be irregular. So when I was done, I pinned it down just to hold the fabric so it's not going to move. I'll do the same thing for the other parts. I'll check if it's 2.5. If I'm satisfied that it's up to 2.5, I'll go ahead and measure this other side of my short to check if it's up to my waist. That's my waist divided by 4. I don't know if you get, like, this is like the only way I know how to explain this thing. So I'm checking it if it's up to my waist divided by 4. So it's up to, there's the allowance for me to join the both front and the back short together. Same thing again, 4. I'll pick it and then I'll measure. So I'm picking it, I'm arranging it. I'll measure if it's up to 2.5. If it's not up to, I'll readjust it just to make sure it's in 2.5. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it down. Then I'll pick the other parts, just as you see me do. I'll use my tape again to check if the pleat, that's the fold, is up to 2.5. So I'm checking it. It's not up to. I'm trying to rearrange it again. So it's going to be up to 2.5. So I'll check my waist divided by 4. So it's perfect. I'm going to go ahead and pin it. So when I'm done pinning it, I'm going to introduce my front and my back block together. So this was it when I was done. I'll go ahead and stitch it. I'll stitch it down so it can hold the pleat together before I now join my front block and my back block together. So when I'm done stitching it, I'll show you how it looks like. So this was when I was done stitching it. So the next thing I'm going to do is, are you seeing, I've stitched it down and I've also ironed it. So this is my back block. I've stitched it. It's already looking fine. So I'm going to put my front and my back blocks together like this, and I'll go to my sewing machine and sew it down by 0.75 on both sides. Now you have to check, if you finish sewing the left side, you have to check if when you're sewing the other part, you have to check if it corresponds with your waist first before you sew it down. So this was when I was done sewing it down. You can see everything is just looking beautiful. So I'm going to turn it over to the wrong side, and then I'm going to mash my back crotch and my front crouch, sorry, not crotch, I beg your pardon. So I'm going to match it up together like this, and I'll go ahead and stitch it down. When I'm done stitching it, I'm going to hem the down part of my short. So I'm going to go and hem the down part of my shirt, and then I'll show you how it looks. So this was when I was done hemming it, although I've not ironed it yet. So this was when I was done, you can see. So this is my band. I've gone ahead to add my interface. I'm actually using 5 inches for this band. That's 2.5 on fold. Then I folded it in by 1/2 inch. I'll go ahead and use my chalk. For the length, I actually made it very long, so I'll use my chalk to trace it out. This part I'm tracing is where I'm going to sew it down to my skirt, to my shorts rather. So I'll go ahead and lose out my where I'm going to attach it. I've loosed out the left side of my short, so I'm going to attach it like this. Remember I said I was going to stitch it down on the part that I actually use that yellow chalk. This is what I always do, even for skirt band. This is how I sew my skirt band to my skirt or to my short, or I'm making trouser. This is my method and it works for me a lot. It makes my work look very neat. So this was it. I'll go to the sewing machine and sew it down and show you how it looks like. So this was when I was done sewing. As you can see, it's already so perfect. So I'll go ahead and introduce my zip at this side of the short. I'll sew it and then show you how it looks. So this was when I was done attaching my zip. Everything is looking so good. I love this shirt like so much. I love the fitting. I love the fact that it's pleated. You don't know if it's skirt or it's short, except it look very well. So thank you guys for watching my video. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Please do well to like, subscribe to my channel, you all.